Gary Coleman died from a bad fall. Shannon says it is time to prove that she did not kill Gary.
If you had anything to do physically with Gary's fall, the polygraph's going to show that. You know what I mean by physical, right?
Oh, I know. Pushing him, shoving him, throwing him overboard.
Is this important to you?
Yes.
Get serious.
Let's do this.
George, good morning.
Hello, Jeff. Good morning to you.
I heard you talking to my best buddy and my best friend in Salt Lake, Tony Toscano. If anyone could beat a lie detector, it's that man.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good. Well, two of my favorite towns, Salt Lake City and Las Vegas.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear it. I'm a Las Vegas native. Well, thanks for talking to me about lie detector, truth or deception on A&E. You know, first and foremost, I'm a film critic, George. So one of my favorite moments is with Jimmy Stewart in Anatomy of a Murder. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
No,
And
I haven't.
there's a scene where Jimmy Stewart asks someone about the lie detector test, and the prosecutor jumps up. That's not admissible. He goes, "Your Honor, I just asked if one was given. I didn't ask for the results." But I always think about that because I took a polygraph almost 40 years ago when I applied for a job. I'm Gen X, and I'm telling you, I was like 18, 19 years old, and I'm telling you, nothing was more stressful than being strapped to the gizmo and all of those questions and everything. So the question always is, do they work or not, I guess.
Sure. There's a big difference between legitimate polygraph and a lot of other things that are out there, Jeff. So, a legitimate polygraph, research shows it's about 90% accurate when it's done correctly.
Now, are there tricks to beating a lie detector? I always heard that, if someone puts a tack in their toe in their shoe, or I mean, you've heard all these urban legends for years, but what is the purpose of a
Sure.
lie detector? There is no magic bullet, is there?
Well, in terms of people trying to cheat on a test, there's all kinds of things that people can try, but the experienced examiner knows what legitimate, not, the experienced examiner knows what uh, real physiology, natural physiology is supposed to look like. And if it doesn't look normal, if it doesn't look within that normal range, then we know something is up. So it's very difficult, very, very difficult to be the polygraph exam.
It's and polygraph tests, the whole industry and the whole, the purpose of them. You don't hear much about them anymore. They used to always be in the news, and it used to be something that always was something that was so high profile. Are they used as much today as they were in the past?
I think they're used a lot in private investigations and in law enforcement. They're very valuable to law enforcement in terms of asset allocation, allocating resources, because every investigator wants to know if they're on the right track or if they're barking up the wrong tree. And with a 90% accuracy rate, then they know we're on the right track. We need to collect more evidence. We're digging in the right hole, or we're not. So they're valuable in that sense as an investigative tool. And in circumstantial cases where all you have is people's words, then they're very valuable.
Well, the series investigates that very premise about some high-profile cases. Everyone, especially when I was a kid, Gary Coleman, growing up, and there's this series, this documentary profiles that case. Can you tell some of the details of how a polygraph used in that case?
Sure. So Shannon Price was accused, and she's still, I guess you could say, under that cloud of suspicion that she may have had something to do with his death, his fatal fall in the house in 2010. It was just the two of them in the house, and some would argue that her 911 call was somewhat suspicious. Uh, even in the series, even in the episode, she admits that, yeah, the 911 call sounds pretty bad. And so there's a lot of things swirling around that suggests that she may have had a hand in his fall and maybe tries to cover it up somehow. So she undergoes the polygraph exam voluntarily to clear her name. Now, she was she was disappointed with some of the results, but I don't think she was surprised.
I've always was curious how you become a technician. Is it something that's the law enforcement? Is it a special, career unto its own?
Well, that's a great question, and people can take different paths. It kind of leads me down this uh, issue of legitimate polygraph exam versus everything else. So, for the FBI, at least in the FBI polygraph program, it's not an entry level position. So, I was an investigator as a special agent for 14 years before I went to polygraph school.
Wow.
And then I went to the schoolhouse and When I retired in 2020, 8 years later, I was the senior polygraph examiner for FBI Los Angeles. So if you call 10 places, Jeff, like just on the internet, just private polygraph, and you ask them some great questions, you're a good interviewer, and you ask them questions like, how accurate is polygraph? How many questions can I ask? How long does it take? All these questions, you'll get 10 different answers from everybody that call it. And it doesn't mean that there is no legitimate process. What it means is that there's no regulation on polygraph in most states. In my state of California, anyone can be a polygraph examiner and do whatever they want and ask any kind of questions in any old way, but that's not legitimate. So the process, the standards actually come from the federal government. In fact, there's only one school in the entire country that teaches polygraph to federal examiners.
Wow.
That means that every examiner, every federal agency in the government, whether it's the FBI, CIA, Secret Service, we all went to the same school. It's in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and that's where standards are set, validated formats are met, research and development's done. They tell us what works and what doesn't work.
And finally today, has the machine changed much over the last 50 years? I mean, as a kid, it looked like the most simplistic thing, but has high tech come to lie detector tests? The machinery?
Well, the biggest change was in the early 90s when we went from analog to digital. So the analog were the old Richter scale with thermal
Yeah.
paper, the paper would come out.
Every
I
70s
actually never
movie.
used. Exactly. I mean, they're very intimidating piece of equipment. It looks very intimidating with lots of knobs. And we went to digital computerized. But other than that, the equipment that's attached to components that are attached to the individual haven't changed much
Okay.
because the human body hasn't changed much in the last thousands of years.
I was
And so we're
yeah,
looking at the same thing.
I was always saying it looked like you're looking at a heart monitor, when you look at everything like that, it looks almost look like the same kind of technologies back then. So
So that's one of the channels. We do look at heart rate and we look at respiration. We look at electrodermal activity, sweat gland activity, and movements. So all those channels come together for scores.
that's so fascinating. George, thank you so much for joining me today. Lie detector, truth or deception 9NE. Hey, come visit us in Las Vegas soon, George. We'd love to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Take care.